Begin with Bill Hauserman.
Good evening. I was somewhat taken aback to be asked to speak like this because I've never done it before, anything like it. So I'll start with a little bit of my background since I'm relatively new here, and even when we're here, we're half the time in Texas, so many of you may not know. So anyway, my background in faith, I should say, is family. I grew up in a family that wasn't really into church. My parents had made a half-hearted effort, and they ranged from claiming to be Christians to just agnosticism. Nevertheless, I was baptized as a youngster, and my father made sure that we all memorized the Lord's Prayer. But that was kind of the extent of it. He took us to church sometimes in the beginning, but that kind of petered out, and that was kind of the extent of it until later in life. My mother is a conundrum to me because she is agnostic, but is very altruistic. She is the most helping and loving and supportive person that I have ever known. And not just to me and my siblings, but to everybody she meets. She would be the model Christian if only she were one. Also, it might be surprising to learn at this late stage of my life is that I've never been a member of a church until I joined Salem. And early in my career, I got hired I was a theater director, and I got hired to move to Germany, where I worked for the Army, and ran their entertainment program at one of their bases, a community theater, a music center, and a dance studio. And I took care of the touring shows that would come through. And so when I got there, I didn't speak any German, so going to a German church was kind of pointless. The military did have chapels, to serve the soldiers and their families, but they were kind of, they tried. But they were, one chapel to serve every denomination. And, they just didn't have the community connection and the feeling of inclusiveness and family that I found here, and also luckily at our church in Texas. Then after moving back to the United States, we found ourselves in Laredo, Texas, where the only two Lutheran churches were, one was in Spanish, and again, I didn't speak Spanish, so again, pointless. And the other one was, we went to a few times, but the congregation was made up of about 5 people, and it was uncomfortable. So there was that. However, I should also say that because I was running a theater, my theater, I don't want to say that it was, religious or anything like that, but it served the function of a congregation in that people would come and that's where they would find that sense of community, that family. I can't tell you how many times a soldier or a family member of a soldier who had been one of our theater's volunteers and been in several shows, when it was time for them to rotate back to, the United States or some other base, they would come to me and thank me earnestly for giving them that sense of community and belonging that was sorely missed at this American oasis in the middle of Germany. So I did feel somewhat connected through my work in the theater. I should also say that at no point in my life did I have a thunderbolt moment where I knew, God was speaking to me and I knew what I had to do. Some of the other people who have spoken in past weeks have described such things, and I've heard people's testimonies about events like that, and that's never happened for me. I'm still kind of waiting, maybe. But the closest thing I have had to that happened on February the 6th of 1983, and that was the day that my eldest daughter was born. And I have to say that it was such a miracle seeing that baby that I just knew at that time that there had to be a God. This was, I was a young father, and we just come out of the 70s. It was in the early 80s, and there were a lot of God is dead and, searching, that kind of thing going around, and not having had any kind of much of a religious background. That moment was very strong for me. And so from that time on, I knew that there was a God. Having described my lack of finding a church home for so many years, I did read the Bible on my own, I did try and engage in conversations with people, but it was mainly a solitary kind of searching and thing. Looking back on certain aspects of my life and reflections, I think on certain events that have happened that make me realize now that I was following Christ at the time, even though I didn't even realize it at the time. And I'll give you a couple of examples. When I was in high school, I was on the football team. I was involved in the plays. I got good grades. I was whatever. I was fairly good looking, so a popular guy. I didn't just have one clique. That so many of the high school kids, you had the jocks that would, eat together in the lunchroom, and you had the band would be at one table, and so on and so forth. But even though I could have joined any number of those groups, I never did. What I did was I looked for that kid who was sitting alone, who had no friends, the outcast, the weird guy. Every high school has one or two of those. And I would go and I would sit with them and, try and strike up a conversation, just because they looked like they needed a friend. Another example is the whole mission that I had with the Army in running the theater. I spoke a little bit about that already, but providing an opportunity for people to get involved in entertainment-related activities, and building that sense of community for people. And another example is just charitable giving, signing up for the combined federal campaign and, donating part of my salary to, feed the hungry and medical research and whatever charities that I saw fit. The other next thing I wanted to talk about is just when I think about my faith life, just how grateful I am for so many things. My health, my nationality, my career. I mean, not very many people can make a career in theater. I mean, when I was good in math in school, and when I told my father that I wanted to go into the theater, he was beside himself. In fact, I had to quit the football team because, again, to his great chagrin, and also to my coach, because it was interfere with the play. And I had decided at that time that I was going to go into the theater as my career. But also other things that I'm grateful for is my family and just the times that we live in. We live in the modern times, some of the progress that mankind has made over the years, something to be grateful for. I'm also, I don't want to sound like I'm, up here to brag about myself, because I don't feel that way at all. Because I also feel very much my shortcomings. I am often find that I've been blind to some of the things that are going on around me, cluelessness. My kids can tell you that that I'm always the last one to realize, what's going on, around me. I, as many people do, I'm sure, struggle with things like, selfishness and, spiritual laziness. It's easy just to kind of go along and not get so involved. When I pray, it's usually full of gratitude and also recognizing my shortcomings. I rarely ask for things other than for other people. So where does that leave me? I have a few things to say in conclusion. One is that I think about what is the difference between faith and knowledge. There are so many things that I don't understand. I don't get it. All right? I don't understand a lot of the things that I read in the Bible. I don't understand how some of these things could happen. I don't understand things in the world. However, the Bible and the Lord don't ask you to understand. They ask you to have faith. Faith is a choice. I can say that I choose to believe, even though I don't really know. Because if I really knew, it would be knowledge. It wouldn't be faith anymore. Am I going to go to heaven when I die? Do I know that? No. But I can have faith in it. Do I know that all the things that it said happened in the Bible really happened that way and hasn't been changed over the years through, one person saying it, and the next generation repeating it, and the next generation repeating it, and the next one after that, and by the time it gets to the modern days, it's completely different than it was originally? Do I know that it hasn't changed? No. But I can have faith. And even if something did change, the essence, the gist of the message is still valid and still there, even if the details were somewhat scrambled. Another thing is, I look at my children who are adults now, and my grandchildren who are not adults, and realize that I learned so much from them as role models in terms of the way that they love. I can't tell you, it's been a long time since, my children ran to the door with their open arms, shouting, "Daddy!" for a hug around my legs. Because that's how little kids show their love. It's not that my adult children don't welcome me and hug me, but not in the same exuberant way that kids do. As I get older and I wish for a deeper and better connection with my kids, trying to always, invite them or call them or spend time with them, recognizing that they have, their own lives, but also realizing that, my mother, who's still alive, probably still feels the same way toward me. And so, learning from my kids and my grandkids, I try and make more of an effort to spend time and connect with my mother. So, that leaves me now searching for ways, now that I'm retired, a big change in life, searching for ways to serve and to help. It's only been a couple of years that I've been retired, but trying to, I look at what talents, what do I have to give, so I was in Salem, the musical, I'm going to be in the thing this coming Sunday. I directed the play here for Salem Players. Been doing some cooking at my church in in Texas. I did a big community meal for them and organizing a similar type thing for the congregation here, which you'll be hearing more about in the coming months. But anyway, I'm currently seeking new ways to connect with people and share my talents and find ways to serve the Lord. And that's, I guess, my journey.